Holy shit, snacks. Look at that shit. Damn. Straight like a motherfucker. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay in today. Damn, and listen to some records. Fuck going out. Yeah, let's go listen to some records. What's up, internets? You know what time it is? It's time for what's in my record collection. What is in my record collection? I think that maybe we ought to go and check it out. I was a Canadian now. I don't know why I did that. I'm not Canadian. Check it out. Yeah, time for the choose ring. Let's go over here to the record collection. This is the big exciting moment in the show, right at the beginning. Doesn't get much more exciting than this. Where I choose a record that we're going to listen to today. I'm going to listen to and then tell you about, technically speaking. Let's see, I think I mention this every time. I really want to do that thing where you, the internet, chooses where I should pick the record. So at some point, maybe, when I have enough people will start telling me what side they would like me to choose from. So I'll just keep reminding people every week. You can do that. If you send me right now, there's hardly any people, so like one person could decide this. So next week, if you're that one person, you're like, I'm gonna write it in, and then he's gonna do it the next week. I'll probably do it because you'll probably be the only one who asked me to do it. So yeah, you can tell me if it's all random. All this shit is fucking. I've mixed it all up. It's been pulled out and put back in funky ways. So so the gimmick is I could pull from the left, or the middle, or the right. It's pretty exciting, huh? Yeah, you know, it's a way you can contribute, be part of it, or whatever. Small, tiny little way. So, but since I don't have that shit right now, I don't have anybody telling me what they'd like me to pick. I get to choose. I get to choose. I don't even remember where I fucking picked the last time, so I'm just gonna. All right, close my eyes every time I do this. I'm just gonna pick something. What is this? What be this? We're not gonna look. Oh, it's got like holes in it and stuff. It's got like cutouts and stuff. It is. Oh shit, Led Zeppelin. Physical Graffiti. Okay, cool. Classic. Yeah, they got that cool cover. This cover's gonna get fucked over time though. Anyone see if these have like little holes in it? Alright, cool. I'm gonna go listen to, I'm sure everybody listening to this has probably heard this record before, but whatever. It's in my collection. We're gonna listen to it. Alright, be right back. Alright, I'm back. Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti. This is actually the third time I've tried to film this video. I was having trouble doing it for some reason, and I couldn't figure out why, and then it kind of dawned on me. I think the reason I was having problems finishing this video was I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan, man. I really love Led Zeppelin. I think Jimmy Page is one of the best songwriters in human history. He's, man, I'm always saying, a lot of times I'll criticize an album because you know, the way I term it is there's maybe not a lot of riffs on the album, and it doesn't have to be a riff. What I really mean by riff is it could be a theme, depending on the type of music. If it's jazz, I think they call it a head. It's a different terminology for the same musical idea, phenomenon. I mean, you know, it's that thing in the song that you remember. You know, it's that that part of the tune that you can always hum in your head, the thing that really sticks out, you know. And Jimmy, did I say Jimi Hendrix earlier? Did I say Jimmy Page? I'll have to edit that or something. Jimmy Page is one of the best songwriters. God, I hope I didn't say Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix is fucking amazing too, but I'm trying not to confuse them. Jimmy Page is definitely one of the best songwriters, definitely one of the best riff writers. He's written some of the best riffs ever. Even if you don't like Led Zeppelin, you don't like Jimmy Page, I can almost guarantee you that you like some bands that were highly influenced by Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page. So my problem when I got stuck on Physical Graffiti and trying to make this video was I didn't like this album as much as I've liked Led Zeppelin albums in the past. It's not to say that this album was terrible. Not at all. There's good stuff on this album, absolutely, for sure. But this album was a little bit hard to slog through. Let me pull out the song list here. Maybe we can go through some of the stuff. It's a cool album cover, and I'll go through the album cover in a minute as soon as I can't get this thing out. Oh, this is good. I'll just get this. So here's the one of the inserts. I always love these sweet inserts. This has got a pretty good amount of information on it. It's got like a lot of recording information. I'll talk about that in a second. Let's see. What did it? Well, let me just talk about what bothered me about this album. So, like, for example, this song "In My Time of Dying." You can't see it because I don't know how to focus my. You figured out I can't focus my shit. But right down below there, where my finger's at. This is an 11-minute fucking song. Actually, starts out really good with a cool slide guitar riff that I liked at first. But by the end of the 11 minutes, you just, you want to rip your face off. You stop playing that, Jimmy. It's too much. A lot of really long songs on here for them. 5 minutes, 11 minutes. Kashmir is 9, almost 10 minutes. That's 5 minutes. Let's see on the other side. Oh yeah, it's a double album. I don't think I mentioned that. Which I initially got really excited about. But if I'm, pardon me, indigestion. Initially got really excited that it was 2 albums because, hey, the more Led Zeppelin, the better. I'm a record dork, so the more albums, the better also. But I think at least half of these songs could be done away with. They could have just had one really solid, good album. You could debate which songs could go on this album. I tend to think like I said, in the time in my time of dying, it's 11 minutes. Like I said, it started out with a good riff. It got really tiresome because it was so fucking long. Man, if they just would have made it like a 4-minute song, I think it would have been a pretty solid song. It would have been pretty good. Would have been okay with that. Kashmir. I think everybody's heard Kashmir. You've heard Kashmir. Even if you don't know you've heard Kashmir, you've heard Kashmir. Some other things, I don't know. What else did I think about some of these songs? I really like Led Zeppelin. This is the 6th Led Zeppelin album. I really like albums 1 through 5 a lot. I think in a lot of ways this album shows a band at the height of their powers. They've got all the instruments they could ever want. They've got all the studio time they could ever want. I mean, at this point that they put this out, they're probably like the biggest band in the world. I think it was 1975 it came out. And I think sometimes when a band gets to the height of its powers, they kind of like lose an edge. They're really early on. Anybody who listens to music and has maybe a favorite band, you've probably noticed that like a lot of times early on in a band's career, it's like they're young, they're hungry, part of it is they don't know what they're doing in a certain way, perhaps. Part of it's kind of experimental. They're learning who they are as musicians. There's like a fire there, and then as time goes on, they become more of a caricature of themselves, I guess you could say. I wouldn't say that might be a little extreme to say about Led Zeppelin in this album. Like I said, there's good songs on here, but I I feel like some of the songs almost are like older versions. I'm not saying this quite right, but like I feel like Led Zeppelin did everything that they did on this album better on previous albums. Like I said, Jimmy Page, fucking superior songwriter, superior riff writer. And there's something about those early Led Zeppelin albums, man. Those fucking riffs, they just stick with you. You all have, everybody's heard a lot of those riffs. You're probably sick of them, actually. But, you know, well, the first time you heard them, they were awesome. This album, I don't know, not as riff heavy in the way as they were in the past albums. Like I said, this starts out with a pretty good riff. I feel like, in a way, at least Jimmy Page was a little bit experimental. You know, he's using a slide. He had more effects on this album. I'll give them credit, I think, in one way. Like, I'm sort of sounding like I'm confused here. I said some of these songs sounds like, you know, there were better versions of similar songs in previous albums, but in other ways, you know, they did try to make longer songs. They did try, I think, to do some maybe slightly different things, but it just didn't come off for me for some reason. Probably I had high expectations going into this album too. Yeah, not as many riffs that stick in my mind on this album as in previous Led Zeppelin albums. So while I appreciate the fact that maybe they were kind of trying to do something different, I don't know. I don't think they succeeded. I think they should have cut this down. They should have cut half of these songs out because, like I said, some of them are just they're, you know. I think it's hard to have an okay Led Zeppelin song, because their early stuff is so fucking good. Having just an okay Led Zeppelin song just doesn't kind of cut it at this point. Not that there aren't great songs on here. I really liked. Let's see, what did I really like? In the Light is kind of cool. That's a little bit different for them. I thought that was a neat song. Braun Year's a little ditty, and that actually could have been longer. That's just Jimmy Page doing some pretty guitar work. Some pretty, like, sounds like some chordal arpeggiated stuff, majory sounding, but very nice. 10 Years Gone, you've probably heard before. That's a really good. That's probably the closest to what I like about some of the older Led Zeppelin on this album. This side over here, I think I liked the Wanton song. The rest of these, fucking Boogie with Stu. Sorry, my battery died. I don't know how to work my shit. I was talking about, let's see, Boogie with Stu, I fucking hated. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what more there is to say about the music. I would say... Sorry, I feel a bit jumbled today. I don't have my thoughts together. I did take notes, but they weren't helping me. Thanks for the suggestion, Ryan, but that didn't work on my brains. I would say if you never heard Led Zeppelin before, which I can't believe, wouldn't believe that you've never heard Led Zeppelin before, but maybe you've never really listened to Led Zeppelin, you've actually sat down with a whole record and listened to it all the way through. I would definitely not recommend that you start with Led Zeppelin 6, Physical Graffiti. I would start with probably any of the first 4 albums. I really like Houses of the Holy, which is Led Zeppelin 5, which is, interestingly, they have Houses... Why the fuck? They have Houses of the Holy, the song, on Physical Graffiti, but they have an album, which is Led Zeppelin 5, called Houses of the Holy. And the only reason I could think Houses of the Holy didn't make it on Houses of the Holy, the album, is because it's not a very good song. Or I didn't think it was a great song anyways. But if you never listened to a whole Led Zeppelin album all the way through, I think you ought to check out any of 1 through 4. that's, to me, that's the good stuff. That's there. It's great. Well, I don't think there's anything else to say about the music. Like I said, a little bit disappointed. Not my favorite Led Zeppelin. Let's talk about the cover. Actually, the cover, the cover is probably the coolest fucking part of this whole album. You can't see it really that well. Maybe, I don't know. Can you? It's a building, and there are little pictures in the building of like people and like there's like stills from movies and stuff. I think some of the band members are in here. That might be Robert Plant. But what's neat, and then there's like weird. I think it must just be stuff like that Led Zeppelin liked or something. I think there's like Marilyn Monroe's in here or something. So what's cool about this? So you have that, and then when you pull this out, fucking this up. Drop those out of here. See, if you take it out, look, there's just holes there, right? So those are the windows, and these, when you put them in, you put their 2 records in. The record sleeves, they have different pictures in them, so they fits into the holes, and you could put different pictures, and they're different on both sides. There's different pictures inside the windows, so that's kind of a neat idea for a cover. And then there's I don't know if they have the same ones on both. I think they might all be different. I'm not gonna look at it real quick. Maybe I should know what I'm fucking talking about before. Yeah, it looks like they're all different. And then what's really cool is it has this sleeve, which doesn't. This is the one that doesn't have the record. I guess is the insert technically. What's cool about this one is it's got a bunch of recording information, which is kind of neat. It's interesting. There's stuff in here about. They did a lot of mobile recording units, which I guess means that somebody the producers and the sound guys brought the shit to wherever Led Zeppelin wanted them to record it, probably at their houses or whatever. I'll give them credit for this. This album, production-wise, does sound like it was all recorded in the same studio. They did a really good job in making it sound like that, and then I'm kind of shocked because there's so many mobile production units, and apparently this was done over like 2 or 3 years or something. It was a long project. It was not. They didn't bust this out. They actually took a lot of time to do this. So that's kind of cool. Give them credit for that. Having good, well, it's Led Zeppelin. Of course, they had good production value, but the amazingly consistent recordings from all of that. So anyway, sorry. Back to the cover. If you put this cover in, which is really hard to do with one hand. I gotta hold the camera with the other one. You put this in, and then you've got, it actually says, can you see that? It's got the words physical graffiti. So I think you could put the records inside the sleeve, the insert, and so you've got physical graffiti, and I think, is it physical graffiti on the, oh no, this is cool too. Then it's all the windows, they're all shut. Look, everybody went to bed, it's nighttime. It's cool. That's kind of silly, but I think it's fun. I think it was this is one of the things to like about records, is that the artwork, the things that you can do, the fun things you can do with the album. I know it's kind of gimmicky, right? But it's also kind of neat. They put some thought into it. They had some fun with it. You as the record owner can have fun with it. Like, if you like the pictures on some of these inserts, you could have those be what's on the inside and the outside, so cool design. Good on them for doing that. What else there is to say about this Led Zeppelin album? I wish I liked it more. Think tastes change over time. I think you become a more mature listener as time goes on. It's kind of like this always happens to me with books. It happens to me with music too. This is using books as an example. You read a book when you're 20, and you may love it when you're 20, and then you read it when you're 30, and you're like, what was I thinking? This book is dumb. And then you read it when you're 40, and you're like, wait, this book is amazing. I think it's the same thing with music. Sometimes you hear something at a certain time, and maybe it doesn't click. Maybe you need to hear it a few more times. Maybe you need to hear it at a different time. It may be that with physical graffiti. I'm definitely not going to get rid of it. And I do, like I said, I love Led Zeppelin. I think they're one of the greatest bands of all time. I like to advocate pushing yourself as a music listener. You know, I think you should. I know it's probably really hard for some people who maybe don't like Led Zeppelin. I know there are lots of people who do not like Led Zeppelin, but you know, I may not recommend this album, but I think you should listen to some Led Zeppelin. There's some good Led Zeppelin out there, for sure. Yeah, that's it. Physical Graffiti. Not as good as I wanted it to be. Late. Yeah? What's up? What are you doing? You want to go out there? You crazy cat, alright. Okay. That's what you want to do. Go ahead. Just gonna sit there? Just gonna sit there and watch the rain? Alright. Meow. Watching the rain with my cat.